What's up everybody, welcome to Money Management channel. My name is Andrei and today I'm gonna be doing an update on MMTLP and FINRA saga.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed, born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up.
And for today's video guys, I have several quite interesting news. First of all, I will show you some details about the conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest of Wes Christian in regards to MMTLP case. On top of that, I will show you quite interesting update from George Palikaras that is directly related to fiduciary duty of the board of directors of MMAT. On top of that, guys, I will show you quite weird activity from, let's say, from the person who didn't want to see our success, and it also might be quite interesting development. So, and before we dive deep into all of this, guys, please hit the like button for YouTube algorithm and drop me a line in the comment section if you think my videos are valuable for you. And let's begin today's video with this tweet that was written just yesterday by Roman Soups, and he wrote this: I took Wes Christian's filing with the bankruptcy court to the Grok. Let's see if I ask the right questions. A thread. And guys, you know that just yesterday it was published a letter from Wes Christian, and this letter was quite interesting. And in this letter, one of the crucial points is that Wes Christian tried to argue that he doesn't have any conflict of interest in MMTLP case. But the long story short, here's the question that Roman Soups asked Grok. If Wes Christian represents a company of a large shareholder, would this be a conflict of interest for the attorney to represent the bankruptcy estate? And here is the long story of the answer of Grok, and the long story short is yes, potentially. Guys, take a look right here. I will show you somewhere at this, wait a second, in this conclusion. Wes Christian's representation of a company of a large shareholder could constitute a conflict of interests if he seeks to represent the bankruptcy estate, particularly if here are the 3 bullet points. The shareholder has significant influence over the debtor, for example, a large equity stake or board of representation. Second bullet point: the representation of the shareholder's company involves matter that could affect the bankruptcy estate's interest. And number 3, the relationship with shareholder's company creates an economic or representational bias. And guys, Roman Soups also added some screenshots of Greg McCabe's position on MMAT shares, and right here you can find this information. Greg McCabe was the second person to file a proof of interest in the bankruptcy case. Greg McCabe filed a proof of interest for 120,001 shares, representing as documented over $300,000 of equity, docket 39. And I think this is my personal opinion, and I think that Wes Christian has a conflict of interest. That is why he tried to argue this statement in his letter, and that is why I think he cannot represent this case anymore. And definitely these actions should be investigated much deeper, because on the one hand we have a bankruptcy case, but on the other hand, why in the world attorney who has a confirmation bias and who represented C-level executive in other case against, by the way, against some MMTLP community member, why he is here and why he tries to argue with these statements? In my opinion, it should be investigated as well. So, let me show you another quite interesting update. You know that just yesterday I covered this letter that was written by Scott Roth, and he addressed it to George Palikaras. George Palikaras also added some additional information that potentially might be very important in our case, and Jennifer Veterano asked him this: thank you for your honesty. I would love to know why both the MMTLP share Intel Data and NBA investor presentations were held by the Meta board. And here is the answer, in my opinion, very interesting. That is the $1.4 billion question. First, a small correction. The initial share Intel data covered only the MMAT QSIP. It was later extended to include TRCH and MMTLP. However, to my understanding, share Intel was unable to obtain full MMTLP data, which is an important part, will be addressed by the current investigation. As for the broader question, I can only offer my opinion. Based on what I observed, some members of the Meta board, along with new management, especially after the data came in, did not prioritize protecting our investors and viewed concerns about stock manipulation as a nuisance rather than a serious issue. Until I personally reviewed the version 2 V2 report from Wes Christian in November of 2023, I was also cautious and on the fence about the trading irregularities. However, I am now certain of this. If the board had provided me with the V1 or V2 report earlier, I would have insisted that the company either fight for shareholders or they should resign immediately. So I can add board members who would not put their own careers above their fiduciary duty and their duty of care. Moments like this remind us, true character is tested not when things are easy, but when standing for the truth demands courage. And guys, definitely these several most recent tweets from George Palikaras make me thinking that, well, I would say George is not at the same camp as, for example, Wes Christian, Greg McCabe and John Burda. And you know that they are both defendants in the Securities and Exchange Commission versus MMAT, Burda and Palikaras case. But I have to admit that their position is quite different. You can find it by reading the docket itself, and I have to say that the most recent tweets shows me that potential George Palikaras is more transparent rather than John Burda, and especially rather than Greg McCabe, because George explains his point of view right now and back in the days. But John Burda, well, he is more, I would say, shady person, and he doesn't want to disclose basically any information. And on the one hand, it might be totally okay. He just want to preserve this information for the court, and he doesn't want to disclose it because it might harm his position. But at the same time, guys, George Palikaras is more transparent in this case. That is why, well, it is very interesting to see what will be the next step and what will be the next update from these people in regards to this case. So, let me go further. We have quite weird actions from Charles Gasparino. And you know that Charles Gasparino is the person who previously attacked MMTLP community members, and he told us that he told to MMTLP community members that it is your fault that you were caught by the wrongdoers, and it is your fault that you cannot read official documents. And his famous statement said, in my opinion, was completely unacceptable in this type of context. But here, guys, here you can see that due diligence wrote quite interesting tweet. MMTLP, thinking out loud. Our friend Charles Gasparino deleted every post mentioning MMTLP. All of them. Gee, wonder why. Did he learn that people very high up are working with others in our community now and doesn't want to be seen on the wrong side when the feet hits the shed? And this tweet was reposted by Dennis Neal, and Dennis Neal also wrote this. This is very interesting. And due diligence added, indeed. So, definitely it is very interesting, and I made my research. I also wait a second. So Busy Brands also wrote this in response to this tweet. Charles Gasparino, nice crop job. It's amazing how quickly people can find the motivation to start cleaning all prior MMTLP posts. And here is the search results for MMTLP ticker symbol from Charles Gasparino Twitter account. As you can see, he deleted all of them. And let me show you right here again. Craig Donner wrote this. Hey Drew, didn't this happen before? And due diligence answered, not to this extent. And previously he deleted, Charles Gasparino deleted just some statements that he didn't want to have public, but he didn't delete the entire number of all of his mentions of MMTLP case. And this is quite weird, and potentially we are about to see something new and potentially something big in regards to this case. So let me show you another quite interesting tweet. This time it was written by Buddy Messi, and he addressed it to Junk Savvy. And he wrote, why were millions of MMTLP shares shorted on December the 8th of 2022 when the opposite should have happened? Shorts should have been covering their positions in anticipation of the end of trading on December the 12th of 2022. Did they receive advance notice of FINRA's U3 halt? If so, how and by whom? And here is the answer from Junk Savvy. And it is her own opinion. I just want to read it from the very beginning till the very end in order to show the position, her position on this case. She wrote, great question, Buddy. A few thoughts. 1. Various brokers and shareholders' communications prior to FINRA's U3 halt indicated that brokers would be taking a position close only trade execution status on December the 9th and the 12th of 2022. All new position orders were to be routed for cancellation. This clearly demonstrated that brokers anticipated trading to occur on the 9th and the 12th, when longs and shorts would have the opportunity to close their positions. 2. The due bill process would have accommodated the clearing of transactions post the ex-dividend date on December the 8th of 2022, ensuring that shareholders may exit their position before the exchange of MMTLP shares for non-trading NBH shares, and shorts could buy to fulfill their obligations to return borrowed MMTLP shares before being obligated to provide the exchanged non-trading shares of NBH. 3. In FINRA's response to MMTLP open letter signed by 74 Congress members, CEO Robert W. Cook attests on page 9 that, here is the direct speech, no market participants were provided with advance notice of the trading halt. However, we know FINRA's Uniform Practice Code Committee, UPC, reviewed the issuer's prospectus, therefore would have been very aware of any potential settlement and clearing issues. If there were issues, the UPC committee had the obligation under Rule 6419 to deem the corporate action deficient and return it to the issuer for correction. Instead, the corporate action was released twice, with language inconsistent with the issuer's 42.4 and without the issuer's approval. These corporate actions served as a basis for FINRA's U3 halt. And here is the link to this document, SEC Form 424B4. Most notably, all members firms, 8, represents on FINRA's UPC committee are overseeing the corporate actions had liabilities in MMTLP. See image below. Number 4. At the 2018 SEC Roundtable on Combating Retail Investor Fraud, according to Cromwell Carlson, CEO of OTC Markets, and here is the direct speech. When FINRA was done a halt, ourselves, OTC, and the market makers have been very much in the conversation. Number 5. According to his declaration under oath in Intercoastal Waterways versus FINRA, former Metamaterials CEO George Palikaras stated in item 31. Here's the direct speech from this item. Further, on or about December the 8th of 2022, FINRA notified the company that it had unilaterally revised the language of the company's December the 6th, 2022 2022 corporate action and required the revised notice to be published on the daily list. This revision was made without the input or authorization of the company and took place on or about December the 7th of 2022. After FINRA had a call discussion with DTCC, I was informed that Meta 2 and Next Bridges Conseil were not invited to participate in the call between FINRA and DTCC. Here is the link to court listener docket. According to former and number 6, according to former SEC Chairman Gary Gensler testimony to the Senate Banking Committee in September of 2023, in response to Senator Crapo's questions, Gensler states that FINRA did not consult the SEC regarding the U3 halt. And here is the link to the video where he stated this. However, FOIA requests prove that FINRA and SEC were actively communicating regarding MMTLP immediately preceding the U3 halt. Sam Drady states to his SEC counterpart on December the 5th of 2022. In fact, blue sheeting both MMTLP and MMAT as we speak, see in the image below. But it would seem that at least some of the brokers had every intention of allowing longs and shorts to close their position on December the 9th and December the 12th of 2022 and may have been caught off guard by the U3 halt. However, clearly broker members of FINRA's UPC committee were aware of any potential settlement issues in executing the issuer's corporate action, but allowed the corporate action to move forward anyway. By the words of Carlson, OTC markets and market makers were in the conversation. DTCC discussed their concerns with FINRA prior to the release of the second corporate action, which predated the U3 halt by 11 hours. Finally, FINRA and SEC were actively communicating regarding MMAT and MMTLP issue immediately prior to the halt. But clearly there were market participants who knew about the U3 halt. Exactly who knew what and when is yet to be determined. The MMTLP army continues to push for transparency. We are not going away. And she added all the images which she mentioned in this tweet. And definitely these statements have very high priority in our case. And guys, definitely we have to pay our closer attention to these facts because they are very important and we have to know, we have to have clarifications in all of these statements of authorities, broker-dealers and even head of the OTC markets. So I think that's all information that I want to provide you. If you like my video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel with notification bell. And see you guys and girls next time. Bye!
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed, born a rock